Welcome. My name is Rafael Vasquez Guzman, and I have the show Líderes del Futuro on KBPF 89.1 FM for Northern California and on the web at kbpf.org. We are there every Thursday from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m., and we bring information about immigration, education, politics, and much, much more. Today, we're going to be talking about DACA and those who have DACA and those who don't have DACA, what the future may look like. There's a lot of confusion in the community. You can always go to my website, lideresdelfuturo.org. And remember that I have an Instagram and a TikTok. I put videos on TikTok almost every other day where we talk about mental health and how to deal with anxiety, depression, and many other feelings. So you're welcome to check that out. I put the videos on TikTok and then I also share them on Instagram. So one of the things that we know that is happening is there's a lot of confusion about what's going on with DACA. The reality is recently the appellate court ruled that DACA is in fact unconstitutional. Now, we had heard that already from the United States Supreme Court almost, a year and a half, 2 years ago. And then the court, the federal court, the Supreme Court said, those who have DACA will keep it. Now go back to a lower court and have a conversation about first-time applicants. So in 2021, thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of individuals who qualify for DACA but had never been able to apply, applied, and their applications were never processed. Personally, I assisted between 46 and 48 individuals who unfortunately, we submitted all the paperwork, but their applications are stuck because of that appeal that is being done. Now, the Court of Appeals has determined that DACA is not valid, but said that while the decision is being appealed to the United States Supreme Court, those who already have DACA will be able to keep it. We know that there is a conservative court that is 100% sure to eliminate DACA in about a year or so. So the question becomes, what can we do, right? I do not want to go too deep into politics, but do remember that the Democrats did say that if they were elected, they were going to find some type of immigration reform. Then they said, okay, maybe we're not going to do it for the 11.5 or so million undocumented immigrants, but we're going to do it. We're going to protect DACA. And to this day, they did nothing because the reality is this is how politics works. Okay, so it's important, and that's the most up to date. So people who already have DACA for now have it and can renew it. If you allowed your DACA to expire and it has been expired for more than a year now, you can no longer renew it. You would have to wait. And if the program gets reopened for first-time applications, that's what you would have to do. But now you do not have that protection. So what can you do if you have DACA? If you have DACA, you can possibly do advanced parole. Now, advanced parole is a program that allows individuals with DACA to be able to petition in order to be able to temporarily leave the United States. Now, in the past, the program was in situations of humanitarian reasons, such as grandma, grandpa, or mom, dad are sick in our home country. And as a result of that, we would ask for a permit to be able to go and visit, right? Maybe we have to take care of them. Then there is the educational version, which is not as available as it used to be in the past. And for that, for example, if you needed to do study abroad, you could do that if you had DACA. And then the third one is for reasons of work. And so maybe you are working for this company and the company needs you to go to another country and conduct business on their behalf. In some cases, it has worked. I have assisted 2 people to be able to do it for their companies, but it doesn't always work. Same thing with the education. I know of a student who traveled to Mexico to give a lecture based on her research, and she was allowed to do so, but a lot of the time it's not happening. At this moment, immigration is really focusing a lot of their time on advanced parole for humanitarian reasons. Now, there's two versions of that. One is that you get a letter from your family doctor in Mexico that says your grandma, and again, this typically only works for mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, or if you need yourself some type of surgery that would be too expensive in the United States, you could potentially ask permission to leave the country to have that surgery done in another country that is cheaper, your home country that is cheaper, and then you could try and come back. But typically, again, this is done for family members, mom, dad, grandma, grandpa. And so what you do is you get that letter from the doctor that says grandma is sick, they have diabetes, they have heart problems, they have brain aneurysm, they've had whatever the situation is, and their health keeps getting worse, and they are seeking to have their grandson or their granddaughter come over and visit. And so what you do is you get that letter, it's translated from whatever language it comes in to English, a copy of the passport from your home country has to be provided, it has to be valid. Your work permit, you have to make copies, and you have to make a copy of your DACA approval. This is the 821D, plus a form has to be filled out properly. It's called the I-131. And then you pay $575 plus you have to send two pictures, US passport size, and a letter where you're explaining why you need to go. And so this packet is prepared, and then you mail it out, and it takes 6 to 8 months before you hear back from immigration. And if they allowed you to leave, then you can leave for a period of time. You can ask for a period of time up to about 85 days. It should never go over 90 days. A lot of individuals that I have assisted, so far I've assisted, I believe, 8 this year and 6 last year. They go for a couple of weeks, especially if they haven't been in that country for a decade or more, because it could cause a lot of anxiety and other mixed feelings. So we want to make sure that their mental health is taken care of. So that's how advanced parole works. Now, there's another version of advanced parole for family that is called emergency advanced parole. Immigration is not granting as many as they used to. This is where grandma or grandpa or mom or dad are basically in their last few days. And you get that letter that says that in the next few days, this person may no longer be there, and that they need you to go over there to take care of them and perhaps to sign some legal documents. And so the rest of the paperwork is identical, but in the situation you call immigration, you get an appointment at your nearest location that they will approve of that. Northern California, Sonoma County, your nearest one is San Francisco, but sometimes they send you to Sacramento, sometimes they send you to San Jose. If you ask for emergency advance parole, now it's taking, in the past, you could get it like the next day or the day after the appointment to take your package, but now sometimes it's taking up to a week to even get an emergency appointment. And then you show up with your packet and they ask you, if we grant it, when would you leave? And you have to be willing to say today or tomorrow. If you say next week, they're not going to grant it. The other thing is you sit there and you wait, and sometimes it takes 20 minutes and sometimes it takes up to 4 hours until they say yes or no. And that's how it works, right? So you are invited to think about that, because this way you can leave the United States, and then when you come back, you enter the country legally. Again, I've only had 2 people, I believe, that I assisted that they did it through their job, because grandma and grandpa are healthy, but their job needed them to go to this other country to conduct business, and they were granted advanced parole, and they were able to come back. Advanced parole can also be helpful for some individuals if they get married to a US citizen, because you enter the country legally, you might be able to adjust status within the United States instead of having to leave the country and wait until they approve your status there. Now, before I continue, I want to remind you that none of this is legal advice. We are not attorneys. We do not pretend to be attorneys. We work and collaborate with a lot of attorneys for many years, but this is just my experiences working with undocumented students. And so, again, it's just something that people have been able to do. And as a result of that, I know of a few people who have become US residents, and in the future, they'll become citizens of this country. That way, if DACA disappears, they will be okay. The other piece here is education. I want to make sure that if you haven't been taking advantage of the educational opportunities that may exist out there, do so. Because if DACA disappears and then you don't have the right level of education, and suddenly your boss says, you know what, because your DACA expired, you can no longer work here, what is your backup plan? Well, if you have an education, maybe you can start a business, right? In California, you can do that legally. But it's important that we keep this in mind. Get your education, advance, right? Get ahead, start your own business. And that way you don't have to deal with a lot of worries. The other piece that is important here for me to mention is finances. I know a lot of DACA individuals that because they have DACA, they are making okay money, but they're wasting their money. One thing, and it's necessary for our mental health, I understand that, is to travel. But I've known a few people who have traveled here and there and there. And then when you ask them, how much money do you have in savings for an emergency? They have no money. I have individuals who lost their jobs and then they still had an $800 payment between the car payment, the insurance, and then they had nothing. So they had to give up their vehicle, all because they wanted to be accepted in this capitalistic country that promotes buying, 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 and we'll worry later about how we're going to pay for it. It's time that you put your finances in order. Put 6 months of savings, whether it is in a money market account or a CD, for an emergency situation, which includes losing your DACA. Okay, 6 months includes rent or your home payment, your mortgage, car payments, food, insurance, all of that stuff. In regards to employment, again, it's important for you to always have a backup, right? To start thinking about that. What if I no longer am able to work legally? How can I still have the income? Well, you can start your own business. So go to your community college, take some classes on finances, on business. Sometimes they're even free, so that you can then be ready and start your own business if necessary. And just a reminder that some individuals have lost their DACA because they were driving under the influence or, you know, in other situations, domestic violence, stuff like that. I want to remind you here that even if you're not found guilty, but you're accused of driving under the influence or possession of marijuana or being at a marijuana shop, a dispensary, as they call it in California, or again, accusations of domestic violence or child abuse, all that type of stuff. If you lose your DACA, that can cause you problems. Even if you have DACA, that can cause you problems in not being able to renew it. So I want you to keep that in mind. DACA renewals are now recommended at 120 days before your DACA expires. And the last thing I'll mention here is attorneys. We want to make sure that you speak with an attorney that is trustworthy to your community. Just because somebody says they're an immigration attorney, be careful. I've run into many situations where individuals see that somebody does a video on Facebook and suddenly they reach out to that person. They are not local. Sometimes they're in a different state, and eventually they get taken advantage to find out that that person was pretending to be an attorney, but in reality, they didn't have the right licensing. So please be careful. Go to somebody that you trust, ask around, make sure. You can check if their license is legit and everything, typically with your state agency. So please make sure that these people are licensed, that there have been no complaints against those individuals. And a lot of those, at least in California, all that information is available on a website. You can reach out for more information on that. What about if you apply for DACA in 2021 and you didn't get it? That is important as well. So it's important that we understand that some individuals who came to this country as visitors with visitors visas may be able to adjust status when they get married without having to leave the country. And again, we invite you to check with an immigration attorney about that. The other piece that we want to make sure, and I didn't put it on this list, is that if you are under the age of 21, you're undocumented, and you were the victim of abuse or neglect or abandonment, you may qualify for special immigrant juvenile status, right? That is a way of, again, getting status, which in this situation would be residency and eventually citizenship. The only thing is you could not later get status for your parents. That is not allowed. But your dad or your mom would have to either have, there would be evidence of abuse, neglect, or abandonment. So an example of this, and you can check out a video on my YouTube channel, Líderes del Futuro, where an attorney explains it, but the basics are this. Maybe your mom and your dad had shared custody because they separated. And that was supposed to come and pick you up every weekend so you could visit and continue that healthy relationship with your dad. But your dad would show up just for your birthday for 20 minutes. And the rest of the year, your dad doesn't show up. Okay, that may be reasoning. And we want you to check with a trustworthy immigration attorney. Now, not every immigration attorney specializes in that. So please be careful. Go check out my video on Líderes del Futuro about this, or send me an email. I'll send you the link. And you'll be able to hear it directly from the attorney, the examples, and then there is a contact information for that attorney, at least in the northern part of California. But please be careful when you reach out. Make sure you're getting the right attorney. So special immigrant juvenile status. The other one is maybe your dad got drunk and was arrested and was deported when you were younger. Again, you have to be under the age of 21 now in order to apply. But because your dad was deported, you may qualify because your dad technically abandoned you, right? So this is left to the attorneys to be able to fight it out. And then again, it's important that we understand that education is the best thing that you can do. And I'm very proud of some of my undocumented students who couldn't get DACA this last round, but they're still in college, they're still at prestigious universities, they're getting their education here in California because they want to contribute to this state and this country later on for sure. In regards to finances, as I mentioned already, again, please don't be wasting money in clothing and cars, brand new cars and all of this stuff. Save, save, save. Challenging times are ahead. We always have to have 6 months of savings. Employment, just a reminder, at least in California, that you can start your own business. Even if you don't have DACA, you can start your own business and you can be the owner of the business and work for the business. And then, just as I mentioned before, crime and consequences. What if later on DACA comes up, but you have a conviction of possession of marijuana, or you went to a marijuana dispensary or you're putting pictures of yourself smoking marijuana, or you have a medical marijuana card, those are grounds of inadmissibility, is what attorneys call it, reasons why you cannot get status later on. And again, go talk to an attorney, get a consultation. For some of the individuals that I personally assisted with their DACA applications in early 2021, we're going to have an event coming up, and I'll be sending emails to invite at least some of you, depending how many attorneys we can get, in order to be able to give you a free consultation. Some of you may qualify for something, some of you may not qualify for anything. But we want to make sure that later on we don't find out, hey, you could have gotten this or that, right? That includes maybe the U visa. Some individuals are victims of a violent crime, and some cases they can qualify for immigration status. So again, we're going to do that. But if you didn't qualify for DACA in 2021, please reach out to an attorney and see if they can do a consultation to find out if there's anything you can do at this moment to qualify. This organization is called Líderes del Futuro. Again, we are on KBBF Bilingual Radio every Thursday from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. You can go to my website, lideresdelfuturo.org. I have a book in Spanish, a book in English. You're welcome to buy it. It's about how do we support the immigrant communities, the Latinx immigrant communities living in the United States. My Instagram and my TikTok are líderes_del_futuro with double O. I also have a Facebook page, DACA Sonoma County, and my email address is lideresdelfuturo@yahoo.com. So please take care of yourselves, take care of your mental health, because your physical and mental health are the most important things. Please disconnect from Instagram, from Facebook, from all of these things. Take a break for yourself, because otherwise all we are seeing is a lot of negativity out there, and that is not healthy. We're seeing definitely a huge number of anxiety and depression cases in our area. Please take care of yourself, talk with each other, spend quality time in person with friends and family. And with that, I thank you for your time.